We'll just we'll just leave it at that. It's listings. All right. Hey, Catherine, how are you doing?
Bonjour, ça va très bien, merci.
Yep, Dundee, Dundee.
Exactly.
Say boo boo, I think is what I'm supposed to say.
Exactly what she said.
That's right.
Yes.
All
And a
right.
lot of
So
love from Philly.
today we're going to go ahead and get rolling. So today we are talking about listings and how to get listings and best practices in getting listings, and I think we should also talk about how to sell them too, right? Because getting listings in this market is great. If you're not selling them, it doesn't really matter, does it? And since Mr. Loss was on first, and I know this is his favorite subject of the world, he is the master lister of the lister world. So, hey, Dave, you're up, bud.
All right. So, as you all know, you've heard all the cliches, you list to last and whatnot. And so we were at our quarterly EOS meeting and we're like, so what are we going to focus on this quarter? And one of the things that we came up is how to help our agents get more listings. And we're going to be doing some more trainings. But at the end of the day, most people think that they compete with the listing when they show up at the door. And I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that you compete for the listing before you ever get there. And part of the things that you can do is when I walk in a listing, or one of the agents I have on my team walk in a listing, we want the people to have their pen in their hand ready to sign before they actually get there. So what does that mean? How do you do that, right? And so I'm going to share with you a couple of things that we do. So I'm going to share the screen if that's okay. Okay. So can you guys see my screen? It just says Lawson Team EXP support, all that. Can you see that? Okay, good. So the first thing before I show you this, if you've ever went on a listing appointment, have you ever gone on a listing appointment and right now it's 10:03 in Park City? Somebody calls you, you call them and they say, "Oh, I'm interviewing, or I want to have somebody come over, or I'm going to think about listing, or I want to list my house. And can you come over in an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours?" What does that do to your day? The first thing is you go into panic mode. And so what do? You start, you run in, you go to the MLS, you start looking at a CMA, and then you do get a CMA, and then you sit down and you try to type out something that you're going to give to them or you want to send to them as a pre-listing letter, and you rush it and you send it to them, and then I hope you never go back the next day and look at it because it's probably crap because you were rushed. So I have this thing that I've taught for 30 years. It's called one-timing. Do something one time. So how many times have we prepared for a listing appointment? Hundreds or thousands, right? Or 25 or 50, it doesn't matter. But if you do something 25 or 50 or 100 times, don't you think you should slow down once, do it really well, and then just duplicate it all the time? So we operate the Lawson team based on this document here. We call it the Lawson batons. Like you hand off the baton to someone, right? And so we have everything that we do and operate in our business is all in one place. So you see, one is batons, one's resources. So here, this is batons. So you can click on it, and then these are for transactions, right? Here's for listings, here's for buyers, here's for marketing, and so on, right? And then we also have resources. Here's all of our resources. Do we want to talk about buyers today? No. So who do we want to talk about? We want to talk about sellers. So here's the sellers. So Mitch, if you called me, I can go, and so the first thing I'm going to do is go right up into here to my pre-listing emails. Now over here, we know that we all have to have a listing presentation, say yes or yes, right? Well, we don't have a listing presentation. We have 5. Why do we have 5? So this is our normal Park City, normal Salt Lake. This is normal Canyon ski area. This is the Camas Heber Valley. And this is our consultation for ultra luxury. These are homes that we sold from, probably 7 or 9, 13, 20, $32 million, right? So what we want to do is we want to have our listing presentation based on the area and the price range that we're going in, right? So because we're in luxury, I'm just going to show you our listing. So this is our ultra luxury listing presentation. And I'm going to just go in here, and basically, by the way, it's all the same, except when you get to the page that shows the houses that we've sold, right? So here's the $10 million in Promontory, 13 in the Colony, 11. This is the most expensive home ever sold in the Salt Lake County MLS.
Hey, David, we only see you now.
Yep, I still see him. I still see it. Anybody else see it?
Oh, you do? I'm sorry. All I see is David. Okay.
Okay, you see this here? And then here's the $34 million house we did, right? So if I'm going on a 10 million, we're trying to list a very expensive property. This is the one I use. But going back here, but the thing is everything that we talk about, we try to have in one place. So our agents and myself, I got asked yesterday from a guy, Devontae Blue. He referred somebody, another EXP agent, and I just went in and I was able to get something to his client in the ranch place right away. So I just wanted to give you the background, but this is the main thing. So here's some pre-listing emails. Do you see this list? Okay. So we'll just pick one. We'll say, Park City. So you just click on it and see, here's the template. And here's the template that we can send to everybody. And it has a lot of information on our team, but it's all set up. In other words, we did this one time really well. And then I go in there and I say, hi, Mitch, I prepared a CMA for your homes that have sold in the Jeremy Ranch area in the past X is 6 months. Insert paragraph. And then, so I've done the CMA and I'm going to say here, this. I'm going to type this in. Ultimately your home is worth as much. Here's our white glove service. Here's, instead of hiring a single agent, get a powerful team. This is some marketing. Here's, the thing about Zillow. We put every home on Zillow Showcase. So here's a hyperlink. Here's some information on why that works out, the TV show. Here's EXP Luxury, right? So Mitch, when I list your home today and I come out at 3:00, would it be okay if I marketed your home on the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, New York Times, Robb Report, Market Watch, Unique Homes, Mansion, Upmark? Would that be okay with you, Mitch?
Sure.
Of course it is, right? And then you go down, it talks, you can put your reviews, whether you have 20 reviews or we actually now have not 668, it's like 800. This has to be updated. And then it comes to this and it links to the listing presentation. So the client can go in here and look at it. So your home deserves a top performing team, because I'm always promoting the team, because a team can do more than an individual agent. Then we talk about the Lawson team, some of our agents. We sold $1 billion of real estate in the last 6-7 years, whatever, showing off without totally showing off. We talk about your goals, finding your home. or pricing your home? Is that kind of important? Understanding agency, selling your home for success, and the things that we do and help you with. This is the marketing launch. It's a lot of the EXP luxury stuff. Just so if you're not in EXP luxury, EXP has the most robust luxury platform, and a lot of agents some agents at EXP don't use it. But the other agents, if you're at another brokerage, you might want to look at this, because I get so many listings because of the things that EXP Luxury helps us with. Then we talk about here, we Zillow showcase every property, and the Zillow showcase. Okay, if you're seller, Mitch, what are the 3 things you and only 100% of the other sellers want? What do you want?
Full price.
More money,
Yep.
faster
And more money.
sale,
Yeah.
right? Faster
Yeah.
sale and ease of you want to make it easy. Well,
Yep.
Zillow Showcase helps that. Would you like a 10% more likely to sell your property in 10 days, and the average listing according to Zillow sells for 2% more money? Would that be okay? Because I only charge 3% on my side. If I get you 2% more, what if I could sell it for top price, sell it fast, do everything, and you only ended up paying me 1%? If I get you 2% more, and at the end of the day, how would that work with you and your family?
That's good.
Okay. Then here's EXP Luxury Marketing. Here's all the websites, all this down here, right? Then here's managing the home sales, showing the home, feedback and updates, price adjustments. We always start talking about price adjustments early on, because in this market, I believe that some people think price adjustments are bad. I and our team, we believe they're a marketing tool, right? So you price a home, you try to keep it in a range that will sell. If it doesn't sell, you want to lower the price. Every time I lower the price on your house, or you do, Mitch, it gives us another chance to do another huge marketing another round of marketing. We'll bring it out on all of the websites, Zillow, Realtor, Trill, all of those. It will go from the bottom back up to the top because it looks like a new one, right? Then we talked about the process, seller disclosures, due diligence, financing, settlement. And then we talk about, here's some of the transactions that we've done, right? And so this is like our normal Park City one. So we wanted to have something under $1 million. We wanted to have something under 2 million. Then we wanted to have something in the middle threes. Then we wanted something at 5 million, 4.5 or 7. So that if somebody's listing a property, like we're getting a listing today at $3 million, this is the one we use, because it shows that we're not only in Park City, but we're listing and selling properties that are in the price range that they have. That's why we don't have a listing presentation. We have 5. And then here's the partner. So,
Great stuff.
so at the end of the day, the thing is you do these kinds of things, and then, I didn't show you the last thing. Oh God, I'm going to move on, but you'll get the point. So you're going to get that email from me before I show up, Mitch. And then 2 hours later, you're going to get an email from my office manager. Hi, this is Christina, the office manager of the Lawson team. Thank you so much for considering using the team to market your home at 123 Main Street. And then she talks about everything she does, and she talks about the advantages, and she gives you, this is when you're going to get feedback. This is what we're going to do every Saturday. We're going to get that. Here's the checklist of everything that we're going to do. So now when I walk in at 4:00 and to list Mitch's property, he meets me at the door like this with a pen in his hand. Not really, but the point is, you I tell you one thing, I don't want to be in Park City and compete against myself. I'll just put it that way, right? Because, and the thing is, why did we have to figure this out? Raise your hand if you're in this, or if you're in the chat, you might want to just say, do you think your market is really challenging or really competitive? Okay, I'm looking in here. So, okay, I have a friend of mine, Seton Prince. He's from Park City. By the way, a fabulous agent. This guy, he'll do anything. Mike, one of my guys is in my main guy's in Africa, and Seton, who's on the line, he is helping with some of our high-end listings and showing and stuff. So Seton, you can't answer that. Michael Abair, he was the broker of Berkshire forever. He's on, so he can't, but all the rest of you, you can answer this question. Okay. If you're in Starbucks and there is 6 people in front of you if I'm in Park City and I go to Starbucks this morning, get a cup of coffee, and there's 6 people in line, one of them is a realtor. 1 out of every 6 people that live in Park City has a real estate license. So when you tell me that your market is competitive, I'm going to call BS, right? People say, okay, I'm seeing Philly. Craig's my friend, so I can pick on him.
Hi,
Hey,
I'm here.
Lurch, Philly is a piece of cake. So how many people are in Philly? Wild guess.
It's 4.6 million total, and there's
4.6 million.
13,000 agents. So I'm not even close to your number.
Yeah, so let me see. So if there were 4 million, you'd have to have 800,000 agents in your town to be as competitive as me. And do you have 800,000 agents?
No.
How many do you have?
Well, there's in the whole state and in the area, there's 13,000, but not maybe.
Okay.
I think it's 5,200.
Okay, so 5,200, not 800,000.
Not even close.
So,
and I
so
run into it in every cousin and aunt. You're right, David. I actually talk about you. I said, you want to talk about a competitive market? I said, you think Philly's crazy with the amount of people, cousins, aunts, brothers, sisters that got licenses just because I think they give them out in Cracker Jack boxes? I said, you should be in Park City where my buddy Dave Lawson is. I said, 1 out of every 3 cars that drive by has a licensed person in it. I said, so when you're, and I use you in my listing presentation. I'm like, do you want to when you're out there talking to Dave Lawson in Park City, that you ever want to go there, I have it, but it's like dealing with me here. David, everything that you say is 100% on there. You can be the Tom, Dick, and Harry of everything else that doesn't know what they're doing, or you can go over to the same person and get the job done the right way. 100% right.
Yeah.
But I use you in my listing presentation.
Okay. Well, good. All right. So anyway, I took a little more time than normal, but I just wanted to show you guys, don't beat your head against the wall on the things that you do over and over and over and over again. Slow down. And the other thing is there any misspellings in that? No. Is it look professional every time? Yes. When I get that, when Mitch says, come on over in 3 hours, am I freaking out or am I excited like crazy? I'm excited. I'm not freaking out because I have all the systems in place. So, all right, that's all I got.
Hey, Dave, one question for you. Someone asked, what tool did you guys use to create that flip presentation? Okay, there you got it.
Anybody know? I'd have to ask Drew. He did it.
He said,
Don't look
You're over my pay grade on what it is. But
right.
It's a fairly simple document. Ross, do you happen to know by any chance? Because you work with Drew a lot. No? Okay.
All right, we'll try to find out for you guys. All
Yeah.
right, Lurchy, you're up, man.
First of all, you can never follow a loss in act. I mean, it's the best, and it's not an act. It's true love, and it's true um, attention to detail, and I love it. I was actually sitting here taking notes and typing in here, sending them to my VA as we were talking about how to one step things as we're doing that. Boom, it just goes automatically. And if you don't have a team, these were the things I said. Look, we don't have these, but we're gonna come up with people. The department of this, that, and the other thing. But let me tell you something. I do quote David on some of the things that we talk about, how there's so many realtors and things like that. Break it down to the ridiculous. I'm not going to go over and try to do what David just said. That's the epitome of what you want to have. Is my system in that place? No. Would I love it to be? It's on my hierarchy of how to exceed expectations for myself is to get that done. But the biggest thing I always go into is I go into the presentation of it's about you, not about me. David's right. If you send them enough information, your credibility is there already. So you're not throwing up on them of how great you are. And that's where the biggest challenge is. Because I lay that bullet right out when I sit with a client. I say to them, do you want to sit here and I tell you how great I am like every other realtor that came in here? Is that right? You've had that? Now all of a sudden I've thrown them under the bus. Or we could sit here and talk about your situation, your target, your objections, your responses, your yikes and yields at the end, your story. Which would you like? I have two ears and one mouth. How would you like me to use them in proportion? And I just point blank hit it right there and then, because what it does is it kicks all the other realtors. It gives them right a kick in the teeth in the mouth, right in there. Because if so, everybody else is sitting there throwing up on how great they are. As far as systems, if you touch it once, make sure it's duplicatable. We've talked about the E-Myth theory. Ross is fantastic in that E-Myth theory of what he does with his people in the dialogue. So is David, and I know everybody along here, Catherine and Brian are also. But it just make it duplicatable. Even if you're a one-person team without a virtual assistant, have the stuff in line. You can hire people as VAs and organizers that can help you organize your system and get it in place. So I'm not going to have much more than what David added. I can just tell you is know your clientele, go through the chat GPT. You should be talking to your AI, your chat GPT, my guy's Frankie, and know exactly what that looks like, who that buyer is. Have them build a graph, have them build a demographic, especially on the last houses that have sold. And if you are going to a specific listing in the area, I actually ask it, of the 5 last realtors that have sold it, what are my unique selling points that are different than theirs? And my chat GPT will throw up right exactly who they were and why I'm different. And I go in and talk about the different points versus the same points. And I point them out. So if you're not using AI, that's the point. Before you go out on that listing to get the information, you really don't deserve the listing. This should all be done in advance. That's what I have to say. Get involved in the AI, make the systems duplicatable.
Yeah, and that's really what everything's all about is duplication. And Dave, you said it right at the beginning, is about being prepared, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many people have come into my office back in the day, not as much these days, but they're like, I got to make some copies. I got to make some copies. Like, what's the matter? I got a listing appointment and now I still have to do a CMA. I'm like, really? Crazy. Catherine.
The other thing, I'll just add one thing to what Craig said, is it's not, all of our clients, all of your clients, they listen to the same radio station. What's in WIFM? What's in it for me, right? So it's not about you. So we have little scripts that we say, there's about 10,000 homes around here. We've only sold 3,920. So at least we have a little experience, right? So see how you can say something and then they always smile and laugh. And you know what? All of a sudden they just heard in their head, they go, you sold 4,000 homes out of 10,000 in your marketplace or whatever, right? and then the other thing that I forgot to point out is the very next page after the house that I showed you in my listing presentation. It's a study, or it shows not what we were going to do, but what we actually did to sell a $6.5 million house. And I love that because the house next door we just listed. So this has been in my listing presentation for a year. We just listed the house next door and sold it for $6.4 million the last month, right? So when you can have something that shows what you have done in the past, a case study, instead of just saying, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, that's very powerful. So anyway, if in their case study, think about that. Thanks.
All right, there you go. Catherine, you're up.
Bonjour tout le monde. So I'm quite excited because finally a subject where I feel I actually really perform. Not so much in winning the listings, but more in the aspect of how I tell the seller what I will be doing for them. And every time they just follow my lead in terms of what I want to be doing to sell their listing for top dollars and fast. So 90% of my listings are sold, are in escrow between 4 to 12 days. And I believe the reason for that is the following. Number one, I ask every one of my seller to have a pre-home inspection, termite inspection, sewer inspection. From then, we see what's good, what's bad with the home. I advise them to repair whatever I know a buyer will be freaked out by or concerned by, and they do that and more. So it's just an amazing way for, first of all, the seller to be aware what's wrong with their home, and then to have a better home for sale. And then when I get offers, I basically send them the pre-home inspection showing everything my seller has repaired and explaining my clients really want to be transparent. He wants to really offer a very good home to the buyers. So here it is. And please consider your price, your offer with what you see in the home inspection, because there will not be a second negotiation. As a matter of fact, if you want to be competitive with the other offer we are going to get or we already have, please remove your physical home inspection contingency. And of course, your buyer should have their own home inspection, but that's basically my pitch to all the realtors or buyers that tell me they are going to be submitting offers. The second thing is that I have most my homes staged, and also I get a quote from an insurance broker. This way, I really have everything ready for the buyer. There won't be question mark, concerns, worry, what is it going to be, what is it going to cost? And then they are really willing to offer more and compete higher than they would have otherwise. And I just find that so effective. I have not fell out of escrow on a listing for at least, I would think, 2-3 years. It's really magical. It really, really works. I don't understand why not everybody do that, the pre-home inspection. So the next thing is that I will tell my seller with this market, at least in San Diego, to be able to end up getting people coming to your open house, realtor booking to show your home to their buyers, you have to underprice majorly your listing. Otherwise, you'll get zip, nada, and that's the truth here in San Diego. If you are priced at the last sold comps, you will not get any action, and then you are just going to stay on the market for 2 months and chase the market down and have to lower the price. So I explained that to my seller, and 90% of them follow my lead, which is awesome. And I'm able to get like 20, 30, 40 groups of people per day at my open house. not always that much, but at least 10 to 12 groups, and get multiple offers. And at that point, I start working the offers, and I end up over the comps, the last sold comps. And one thing that I use, so I basically have this sheet which shows for every single listing that I sold. I don't know if you can see that, but I show what was the price and then how much more I sold it in how many days. And this is basically what does it for seller to trust me in underpricing their home. If I don't get offers in like 4, 5, 6 days, I up the price basically to where the last comps were. And then I hope for the best that, I will get some clients, some buyers coming through. And it does work. It just takes some time, a little longer. But so also regarding my marketing for every one of my listing, most of them at least, I do Matterport, I do beautiful lifestyle video, reels, of course the photos. I send about 1,000 postcards for the open house. So the plus with that is that you get a lot of neighbors, and then it feels like there's a lot of action, and the buyers are like, holy, whoa, we better put an offer fast on this, and it's going to go higher. So that's in a nutshell what I do to sell my home fast and above comps in this market. And it really, really works.
Awesome stuff.
That's it.
If you haven't noticed, there's a common thread. By the way, probably with everybody but me because I suck at this stuff. Is they actually know what they're doing, right? And that didn't happen overnight. I know David woke up, he was born, came out of his mom and said, "I'm a realtor. This is what you do." But everybody's prepared to do this business, and that's how you're successful. And by the way, I made a joke. I mean, I was always prepared for my listings, always, 100%. We are up to Brian.
Gosh, I almost want to pass and just keep writing notes. And the first thing I wrote down is to find one of the attendees on this meeting right now. My note to myself was the first thing I would do is rewatch this webinar and make a note on everything that you either saw in the screen shares or heard, and write down the top 10 things that you want to have in your own listing presentation, and just perfect those top 10 things, whatever those are for you. And build that and start there, because if you can get perfect on those first top 10 things that we just heard already in the shares, you're not going to have to go too much deeper into the convincing side of what it is you're going to do. Now you're going to really be able to just go into a dialogue of trust and building, a plan that's a little bit more personalized. So I'll give you an example. Most of my clients today, and again, I scaled my personal business back. So going from a Lawson team more towards what Catherine was talking about, I'm the team. And so it's rare that I go on a listing appointment on a home I already didn't sell at least once, sometimes twice. So I'm revisiting a lot of my past clients. I do mostly 95% of what I do is referral, or with friends and family who lost a loved one, and now I'm doing a trust sale, right? That just seems to be my marketplace. So I don't go seeking and do a lot of work. Like David's just got a machine, and that machine is moving in a right direction for him to continue that machine. For me, I am the machine. So I'm old school. So like Mitch was saying, if you're not real techie, it's okay, because there's a big generation out there that would prefer his listing presentation if it showed up hand delivered on an iPad and somebody turned on the iPad and changed the pages for them. There's still that generation out there. Right, David? So there's an idea. Put your whole thing on and have that iPad delivered. Yeah, there you go. Just drop that off.
Believe me, we have all of these printed because not everybody uses. But the thing is, for a pre-listing, you have to have that. But for an actual listing or whatever, you give it to them. And you want to freak people out. 20 years ago, we would get FedEx envelopes and we would fill, and they were pre-printed with my name, and we put, Mitch and 123 Main Street, and we would talk to them, and an hour later I'd have somebody drop it off. 20 years ago, I had 1 hour FedEx service. But see, those are just little things you can do, right?
They are there, and they are still working to this day. And and Catherine, what you were sharing is how I've been selling for 20 years now. When I learned that from another realtor in San Diego, who was a Dave Lawson machine here in San Diego, I went to his house, one of his listings, to show it. My buyer goes, "What's all this?" And I go, "Well, it looks like all the disclosures from the seller. Why don't you take those home and read those?" Like, that was a good idea. So what did I do? I started doing that in every one of my listings. I had the pre-inspections. I had, it made sense. It made everything smoother. So a meeting like this and a panelist like this and everything that we're getting, these are gold nuggets that I would just go home and rip off every single one of us, take the top couple things, implement them, create your own, because that system that Dave has, I have 5 listing presentations too. And it just depends on my relationship with you, the seller. If I've sold a home before, I have a presentation. If I've not been in this home before, but they bought and sold property from me, and now I'm in a new home they built, it's going to be different. Typically, my presentation is going to cater to the relationship I have with the client, because it is a referral. If it's brand new somebody, then I'm going to come in and I'm going to share with them a consultation letter that really unpacks the whole why we're selling. Let's get into it. What's the motivation? I really want to understand, because sometimes it's rare, but some of us, and I bet you could all raise your hand, has there been a listing that you took that you kind of wished you didn't take because the seller was not ethical, right? And that happens. Well, if you haven't had a questionnaire with them, we go in there, we don't know anything about the seller, and then all of a sudden they know everything about us and they want to hire us, and then we find out they're not really somebody we wanted to, a couple weeks in, because the whole thing changed or blew up. So again, I'm in school today watching you guys taking notes, and I'll go back and rewatch what Dave was doing and what Catherine was talking about, and I know whoever hasn't spoken, I came in a little late, but I just know, Lurch, that I want to be like your wisdom, because you just say it like it is, and you really don't cut corners with your emotions. You really just love your clients, and you're a bulldog for them. I really can see that, and that's kind of how I learned to. You have to be a bulldog for your client. They need to see you are a bulldog for them, but they also want to feel like they're heard, and I know you do that. And so thanks for that, and I'm going to rewatch this and rip you guys all up. Bye.
There you go. Rip off and duplicate, R&D, best thing in the world. Let's go to Mr. Matt Battiati. What's up, Matt?
Hey guys, good morning. It's a great topic. So I'm going to talk about something that, so David, I got on a little late, but I love all the stuff that you mentioned. But I want to mention something that I think a lot of us forget about, which is you got to build rapport. You could have the most incredible, best thing since sliced bread listing presentation. And if that seller in a lot of cases likes and trusts one of the other agents that they're interviewing, people want to work with people who they like, right? So I have been on so many listing presentations, and there was a time where I used to go on like 6 or 7 a day, and you get kind of burned out. And I knew that what I was offering in my listing presentation was head and shoulders above anybody else in my track record, et cetera, et cetera. And so when I would not get a listing, I would just be really incredulous because I was my biggest fan. But I'd always reach back out when I didn't get a listing. I would always call the seller and say, listen, I understand, blah, blah, blah. But just so I can do a better job in the future, what was it that made you decide to go with so-and-so? and they could never give me a real reason, right? They didn't say, well, they just do way more marketing, or they've sold way more homes, or their list to sell ratio is better, blah, blah, blah. It was never anything like that. It was always basically what it was, that person, we really liked him or her. They seemed really excited about selling our house. You just, you didn't really seem that excited about it. And you're right, I wasn't. I'm not. But at any rate, it really would teach me a lesson, because you can have the best listing presentation, the best pre-listing packet, you can have the greatest, track record, et cetera, et cetera. People go with people that they like and that they trust. So you really have to, the first thing you do when you go into that listing presentation is try to build rapport with them, build find some commonality, right? Look at all the pictures they have in their house. Do they have a big family? Do they like to travel? It's got to be something that you've got to before you get into all the great things that you're going to do to sell their home, etc. They have to like and trust you. So that is something that I've really forgotten over the years. And I know this call is supposed to be about not only how do you get the listing, but how do you get listing, how do you get the appointment, right? How do you get the at bat? Because there's two parts of this. One is getting the opportunity, getting people to raise their hand and say, yes, we are going to be selling our home. And then the other is, once you get at that bat, is hitting a home run. But you can't hit the home run if you don't get up at bat. So, I'm a big believer in direct mail. I know David is as well. I'm also a believer in differentiating yourself. So offering some sort of a unique selling proposition that shows that you're different and you offer something that a seller wants. And that could be that, you help them prepare their home for sale. It could be that, you do professional photography and drone photography. It could be your track record. It could be a guarantee that you offer. But you've got to do something that differentiates yourself from the competition. And the other thing that I've been experimenting with for all of this year, so I started really in January, is advertising that we can give people a cash offer on their home. And the reason I started doing that is I know, at least here in San Diego, and I'm sure in most parts of the country, there's tons of ads online and on TV that say, we'll buy your house for cash, and you don't have to have an agent, and you don't pay any commissions, and it's so easy. And so the sellers out there are kind of conditioned, like, yeah, that makes great sense. Why don't I just do it that way? Not realizing that they're going to have to sell their home for about 70% of what it's worth. But anyway, that's a good way to generate leads, seller leads, people that want to sell their home, even though the majority will not end up selling it to an investor. They're going to end up selling it on the open market. And then the last thing I think I would say is that, your listing presentation really does start when you set the appointment. So yes, you're going to send them out, email or mail them or drop off a pre-listing packet that's going to have, testimonials and your track record and all the marketing that you do and so forth, all the programs that you offer. But it also starts when you set the appointment, and you should have a pre-listing questionnaire that you go through so that you find out everything you need to know about that house before you go on the appointment. And that includes, why are they selling? What's their motivation? How much do they think their home is worth? Why did they buy that house? What have they done to it? What kind of condition is it in right now? Are they interviewing other agents? When are those interviews scheduled? And then the question is, do you want to be first? Do you want to be last? Do you want to be in the middle? But, David, I've heard David say this in the past. I don't know if you said this morning, but, those appointments, especially where our, prices have gone up to, a listing appointment is worth $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 at least. And so you really don't want to leave anything to chance. And like David said, you've got to get, you've really got to have that it down to a science. You don't want to wing it, right? Um, so you want to have everything squared away. And another thing that you can do, everybody on this call can do, is you can mystery shop your competitors. So I was at a thing not too long, and I've always thought of doing this. I've never done it, but there's a very successful agent here in San Diego who said when he first was breaking into the luxury market, he could get appointments, but he just would never get the listing, and he would always lose out to three or four other big luxury agents. And so I think what he did is he had his girlfriend call up each of these agents and say that she was thinking about selling her house. And so then he could see what he was competing with, right? Because, obviously, David sits here and shows you his pre-listing packet and his listing presentation, but most of your competitors are not going to do that. So he was able to see what he was competing with. And then guess what? He made his better than what he was competing with. And guess what? He then started getting those listings. So that's a great thing to do too. So that's what I got in no particular order.
Good stuff. But again, what do we hear? Be prepared. That's
Yeah.
really everybody. That's the common thread of all this stuff is don't be winging this crap. It's too important. And for those of us on the East Coast, we're happy to make $3,000-4,000 a listing, not $20,000 listing. Thank you. Ross, you're up, bud.
Cool. Well, I'm so grateful to be on this call and always listen to all of these great agents. Like, so many good nuggets to pull from. So thank you guys. Like, that's awesome. It's because I'm trying to coach agents every day, and hearing you guys speak is what comes out of my mouth to them, because all your ideas are great. But the way that I formed my listing journey was through dealing with buyers mostly. I started my career doing open houses. If somebody walks into an open house, they're either a homeowner or they're a renter, right? And if they're a homeowner, chances are that they have to sell a house. So that's how I got my first listing when I was 23 years old. I was sitting in an open house. Somebody liked the house. They're like, "Hey, I need you to come take a look at my house." So I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Didn't know what I was doing. Showed up to their house, and I had nothing prepared because I didn't know what I was doing. And they showed me their house. So I thought about that experience, and I didn't have anything with me. So I decided that I'm going to develop a plan like this for when I do get listing opportunities. I'm going to have to go back twice, because what I learned at that first appointment that I walked into was I needed to build that rapport. So like these guys are mentioning, they send out their pre-listing packet, they send out their questionnaire. I use my first visit, and I always tell them up front, like, "Hey, I'd like to come visit you twice. Is that okay if I take up some of your time and visit you twice at your home?" And so the first time we go out there, I've already sent them like my EXP luxury, how we're going to market their home. I send them our listing presentation, which is made to overwhelm them with everything I'm going to do to sell their house. It explains every single detail. It's like, I think it's 15 pages long of exactly what we do to sell their house, what platforms we use, and it has really cool visuals. And it's just like made to be a little too overwhelming. So they're like, "Wow, this guy's doing a lot for me," before I even meet them. Then I walk in their house and I'm like, "Can you please show me how?" Like Matt said, I get really excited because one of the first listings I got there, like, nobody matched your excitement about my house. It's a $300,000 track home, and I was excited to sell it. I generally was, because it was an opportunity for me to make some money. I was a young kid with a couple kids and a wife, and I didn't like get to sell houses. Like, I had to sell houses. So I was like genuinely excited. Cool, I can make some money maybe. And so I'm in there and like, "Wow, like, look at your wallpaper above your cabinets with cats on it. That's amazing. Like, so cool. I was just jazzed up about every single piece because that mattered to them. When people showcase something in their house, you can go take it to the bank that it's important to them. And if you can meet their excitement, like Matt said, find something in common. But even when it comes to just the way they've styled their home, even if it's the ugliest thing in the world, they think that they've done a really good job with their house. That's what they live in every day. So if you can meet them with excitement. And so that's kind of the way I started my journey. And then I formulated in my market, similar to Dave's market, which is a second home market. Like in the desert, we have 400,000 primary residents is it. That's like, what is that, Lurchy? What, 10% of what Philly is? Like small little baby market, right? But it goes up to almost 1 million people during the winter markets. So you have to understand who you're dealing with. And when people come into our market, mostly we're dealing with buying and selling side, second homeowners, and they're used to things moving faster in their home market. So the two questions that they would always ask me, what are you doing to market my house? And why is it taking so long? Like once you get the listing and you don't have an offer in the first week, what are you even doing? And why is it taking so long? I'm like, dude, it's going to take 90 to 120 days to sell this house. But I have to explain that to them on the front end. Who is our potential buyer? Who are we marketing to? How are we doing that? And we can wow them with all the technology in the world. But if we're keeping that a secret from them, then they're not going to know and they're going to be upset when they're not getting a result that we didn't set expectations for. So we need to always make sure that we're knowing our market, knowing what those top questions are going to be. So if somebody asks me how I'm going to market their home, I'd be like, cool. Remember we talked about like you're the top line on Zillow with Zillow Showcase. I have you on EXP Luxury. Do you want to review all those reports that you're in and those emails that I'm sending you with all the views that you're getting on those sites and from Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com? Like you get those weekly. What else do you want to know? Oh, do you want to see my Instagram post? Do you want to see how many views that got? Do you want to see how it got boosted and what we're doing for you? I have all those answers and I delight in answering that question because unlike most realtors, we like to do what we say we're going to do. Most people just say, I'm going to do all this stuff, and then it's not happening, and they're just waiting for their own buyer to call them. They're not even marketing to the public because they want to double in the deal. So, anyways, those are my little tidbits on it. But really, be excited, know what your options are, who your market is, and that'll do it. And if you're new in there, anybody who walks into your open house or any of your free marketing stuff, if they're walking in as a buyer, they have a house to sell, probably in your market. So why don't you be that person to do both, or at least be prepared? So and the last thing is the way you can be prepared is have like Dave has that folder. He doesn't have to print one out specific to a home, right? Dave, that you can take that to any house at any time and hand that to them because it's the process and it's how you're going to end your marketing. So this is how we sell your house. This is what I do to sell your house, and start to finish, it's the process. So you can always be prepared if you have one of those in your car because it's not tailored to that home. And then if you have 5 minutes, you can go to EXP Luxury, snap a picture off Google, plug it right into your EXP Luxury presenter, and boom, you have another 10-page report that you can pair it with that to show them how you're going to do it. You don't need it to take a lot of time. It is process and it's repeatable. So that way it doesn't have to be specific to that home. And then what I do is when I go back for the second time, I'm taking pictures in the house like, hey, do you mind if I take a picture of that so I remember it? And they know that I'm working on every single detail as we're moving through the home and getting ready to price it properly. So that's it.
Yeah.
Cool. Great
And
stuff.
Ross, I
Great stuff.
love what you said. Be excited about the home. Okay.
Yep.
So when I go into the house, I talk to them. Hey, Ross, I'm so excited to be here to meet you and to take a look at your home, get it listed and get it sold. Right. I tell them why I'm there. That's why I'm there. And then do you mind if I take a look around your home? And then what I do is I tell people to write things down. Sometimes people use their phone. I think it's way better if you have a pad to write in, because then they absolutely know. Sometimes they're looking over my shoulder. And then I ask you, so Ross, as I walk around the home, will you show me your favorite features? And he says, oh, okay, so we're in the living room. Oh, at the view and this and this. And I'm writing this down. And then we go to the kitchen and, oh, we remodeled the sink, right? Oh, remodeled the
Basic.
sink, right? Whatever it is. And I'm writing these things down and I keep asking him, I'd say, Ross, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Right? And then we go through the whole house and outside. And then at the end, what I do is I go, Ross, I just said, I just went over, you had the sink and the cabinets and the view and the backyard and the fence and the is there anything else that I missed when I market your house? And
Good
then
garden
and
montage.
usually he'll tell me two more things. And then I usually even ask, okay, anything else? No, that's it. Okay, well then what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make sure that my listing coordinator knows all of these things. So we're going to put this in the brochure. Is that okay with you? And he says yes. And so he's just told me that he wants it in my listing, all of the features into the listing brochure. So then when I say, well, you ready to get started? Let's do the paperwork, right? See, if you do these kinds of things, you can be pre-selling. If you don't walk into a listing appointment assuming that you have the sale, you're already behind the eight ball, right? So the thing is, so think of this, gang. So many people, they go in and they're like, Ross, your house, the carpets are dirty or this or that, right? And they're telling them all the negative things. Your goal is to sell the house to the seller. After you get the house listed, then you can say, and then you've shown them everything we've done. Now you've earned the opportunity to come back and say, so Ross, we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about, we're gonna have our stager come over, and then the stager comes over and says, Ross, man, you gotta either replace that carpet or you gotta get at least clean it, and you gotta do this and this, and you gotta declutter, and I don't want to be the bad guy. I want the listing. I don't want the carpet cleaned. I want the listing, right? So think of it in that process.
All right, real quick. I got a minute and a half here to say my piece. Um, I was going to talk about hairstyles today, but decided against that. So I'm going to give you three things in a minute and a half that will help you get listings. I've gotten almost every single listing appointment I've gone on. One thing's important: if there's a pet, and I'm always in a suit. If there's a pet, I am on the floor immediately, getting hair all over my body, which I then transplant to my head because I look better. And I can't tell you how many listings that I didn't even have to do a presentation. They said, "Oh, our dog loves you so much, you're in." Like, unbelievable. But here's two things that I use all the time, and I'm going to give you an example of it. One is pricing. So if a house is $1 million house, we'll go to California prices and days prices, not Florida prices. $1 million house. I can't tell you how many people will list that at $999, $999. I see it all the time. And when I go, and I love going up against that, because what I'll say is for $1, that agent gave up 50% of their marketing. They're like, what are you talking about? Well, people search from 500,000 to a million, and a million to 1.5. Anybody looking from 1 to 1.5 will never see your house. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Seller. If you were going to buy a house today, are you going to buy the most expensive house you can or the least expensive house? 100% of people say least. I've never had anybody said, I want to spend all my money. Right? I said, will you be the last house that they get to see, right? Because you're the most expensive house in that price range. However, in the 1 to 1.5, you're the least expensive. You're the first house they're going to see. So that's number one. Number two is internet. Nobody knows how to say this, and it drives me crazy. I've taught this to a billion people. Nobody does it. Mr. Sal, let me explain to you how good I am at internet marketing and why that matters. 96 to 98% of people find their homes on the internet these days. That's the way it works. We're so good at internet marketing, not only going to be at every major website that EXP has in 27 countries, you're going to be on Zillow, you're going to be Realtor.com, but we're going to micro market your site, your house, to all the local agents and all the local brokers' websites too. And so it won't be just our buyers that we bring to you and our EXP agent bringing buyers, but all these other agents, customers are going to see your house too. So we give you maximum exposure. Everybody has that. It's called IDX. It's on your website, but nobody says that. So that's the thing. And then one last thing before I hop off: for sale by owners, easiest listings ever. They do not have seller's disclosures. Knock on the door. Do not call them. Knock on the door. Hey, I'm Mitch with eXp Realty. Before you say anything, I don't want to list your house. I break the pattern right away. And then I said, do you have a seller's disclosure? They always say no, 100%. And I said, do you realize that you are liable for up to 5 years if you don't disclose something wrong to the house of the buyer? There's a lot more to that, but it gets me into, I mean, I get a 75% close rate on those things. So we'll have to do another class on FISBOs and expireds because it's 101 and we got to go. But thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Who's going to EXPCon? Got a few of you there? Okay, we'll see you guys there.
À bientôt à Miami. Au revoir.
Thanks, guys.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Bye, guys.